Hey guys, what's up? This is Vinnie Stevens here, and welcome to another video from my channel, and welcome to the first episode of Album Ranker. So today we are going to be re- album reviewing Metallica. So, a couple of things first. I'm only going to be doing their studio albums. So albums like their live albums like Live Shit, Binge and Purge and S&M are going to be included on this list, as well as Lulu, which was collaboration with Lou Reed, is going to be on this album, and Garage Inc., which was a um, cover song album. So this is pretty much all the studio albums they have released, from Kill Them All up to Hardwire to Self Destruct. So enough of me talking, let's get on with the video. Number 10, Saint Anger. So since I'm not putting Lulu on this list, this obviously had to come in at number 10. So this was the Saint Anger was released on June the 5th, 2003. This was Metallica's 8th studio album. This was the first album for Jason Newsted and not to feature an official bass player. This album was the last album to be released with Electric Records, and the final collaboration between the band, its longtime producer Bob Rock, who stepped in as bassist for this album. At this time this album was released, the recording process was in turmoil, with Jason Newsted's departure, James Hetfield being in rehab for alcoholism and other addictions. The recording of this album was all documented for the film Metallica Some Kind of Monster. I would go check that out. Really recommend. Good movie. When the album was released, it took a critical beating, but still topped the album charts in numerous countries. This included the US, and it eventually went double platinum. Drum sound and lack of guitar solos on the album have been criticised, and there are some quality songs on this album. Couldn't detract my review on it. I don't really like this album too much. That's why it's at number 10, below at the bottom of the list. I'm not going to say this album should have never been made, but the album, like, the band were so far away at this time from their thrash metal roots. Like, this album could have been better if there were guitar solos and had a pure sound to the drums, rather than that raw sound you get. Like, they were trying out a new sound. Fair play to them. The songwriting could have been a bit better, but this time, like, they were going through turmoil, a lot of personal stuff, and you can't hear it in the lyrics. This album has grown on me a bit. Some good songs on it, like Frantic, Saint Anger, Some Kind of Monster, Name Feeling, are quite decent songs, but they wouldn't be, like, up there. So now on to number 9. So number 9, Load. Uh, so this was the 6th studio album released in 96, June the 4th. This was the first album since the Black Album and a 5-year gap. This was the longest to date then, for an album release. This album was a fair departure from the band's original thrash sound. So it saw a lot of changes both musically and stylically. I have no idea how to say that. The album showed more of a hard rock sound, which alienated much of their fan base. It features influence from genres such as southern rock, blues rock, country rock, and alternative rock. The band cut their hair and changed their appearance. The 24-song album makes it the longest album at nearly 80 minutes. The band's logo changed, and the album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Albums chart, eventually selling more than 5 million copies in the US. My review on it, this album wouldn't be a favourite of mine from Metallica. It's not the worst. It is a decent album. But it does make a dramatic shift in the sound compared to like Black Album and moving away from the thrash metal sound. Like fair play to them trying new genders and new styles of sound for this album. There's good songs on it that I would listen to. I wouldn't listen to the whole album. Like this album has grown on me, but it's not made an impact. Good songs. There is good songs on it like "Ain't My Bitch," "Till It Sleeps," "King Nothing," "Hero of the Day," "Bleeding Me," and "Mama Said." They would be the songs I tend to listen off this album, because they're decent songs. But they wouldn't be like up there. And some of those songs like introduced me to Metallica and to this album. But all in all, it is a decent album. Now on to number 8. So you probably knew at number 8, it's Reload. So if I just get the final number there, so Reload was the follow up to Load, released the next year, 1997. This was the last studio album to feature Jason Newsted. After around more than 2 dozen songs for the previous album, Load, the band came back and recorded the rest of the songs for Reload. The band considered Load and Reload to be a 127 song album released as 2 parts. Reload sold about a million copies less than Load, but it's a slightly stronger album overall. I've got the same opinion with this album as I do with Load. It is a slightly stronger album overall. It's a decent album. That's why I put it at number 8. It's because I prefer this album over Load. But like some of these songs I would listen to more on this album, such as Fuel, The Memory Remains, Unforgiven 2, and Better Than You. Like Fuel, The Memory Remains introduced me to this album and to Metallica, but they're pretty good songs. Again, I wouldn't put this album on in full, and it would be quite where for like the all time I would put the songs on this, like the songs I've just listed that I like on often. But all in all, it is a decent album. So now on to number 7. So number 7, Death Magnetic. Uh, so Death Magnetic. This is a live studio album by Metallica, released September 12th, 2008. This was the this album was produced by Rick Rubin, marking the band's first since 1988, and Justice for All, not to be produced by Bob Rock. This album was released under their own kind of label. This was the first to feature Robert Trujillo, and this album was a radical departure from Metallica's previous albums that I've reviewed, Stanger, Load, and Reload, as this is considered their return to the thrash metal roots, with more complex compositions, standard guitar tuning, most songs, and long guitar solos. One of the criticisms is comparisons and loudness, compression and loudness. This was one to be a successful tour to support the album, which actually led to 7 shows with the big 4. That's Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer. And the new songs fit in well with the classic sounds during live shows. I like this album. I consider this kind of the comeback album from Metallica, back to their thrash metal roots, but with a modern thrash metal sound. I love this album start to finish. The songs are unreal live, but I've never seen Metallica live. I've only just kind of watched them on YouTube live. The guitar solos are just awesome, and the complex compositions. The only thing I don't like about the album is the songs are over 5 minutes long for each song, but they're loud and in your face. The reason it's not higher on my list, it's because it took me a while just to get into this album. At first I liked it, but I've actually grown to love it. So now on to number 6 is Kill 'Em All. So This is the debut album from Metallica, released on July 25th, 1983. This album is considered to be the groundbreaking album for thrash metal because it pursues musicianship, which fuses new wave of British heavy metal riffs with hardcore core punk tempos. The album's musical approach and lyrics were markedly different from rock's mainstream of the early 1980s and inspired a number of bands who followed in a similar manner. Metallica's debut album helped pave the way for a worldwide thrash explosion. Fast and raw, their federal and dangerous sound garnered legions of fans and inspired countless other bands to follow suit. The band's planned title was going to title this album "Metal Up Your Ass." Was vetoed in favour of still numbness but less offensive "Kill 'Em All." Several of the songs on this album were co-written by Dave Mustaine, who had been unceremoniously booted from the band as they prepared to record the album. A lot of songs in this album, including "Seek and Destroy," their loud favourite, and so a lot of these songs are still played live today. So my review: this is a brilliant album. I consider this album the birth of thrash metal. Metallica leading the leading band of thrash metal in the Big Four. This album was one of the best debuts I've ever heard. The songs on this album are in your face, a raw and powerful sound. The album has good lyrics, they're dangerous, and they still sound awesome to hear live today. I like this album start to finish. Some good songs like "Hit the Lights," "The Four Horsemen," "Motor Breath," "Whiplash," and "Seek and Destroy." The reasons it came in at number 6. Took me a while to like this album. It was a bit loud and a bit too heavy when I first listened to it, but overall, it's a good album, in your face thrash metal album, and I absolutely love this album. So now on to number. So number 5 is "Ride the Lightning." So this is obviously the follow up to "Kill 'Em All," and this album was released on July 27th, 1984, about nearly a year to the day of their first album. This album has plenty of energy exhibited from their debut. The band's musicianship and songwriting skills improved significantly, and this is considered their breakthrough and best album. There are some epic songs from start to finish. It's a flawless record, which is hard to argue against. But this album sets on what was next to come on future albums. My review on it: this is a brilliant album. Much as I said, with "Kill 'Em All," it only comes in number 5. It's still got that in your sound face, that energy. That energy gets the adrenaline going. The sound is a bit more pure. The lyrics are a bit more better, but the guitar solos and drumming are just so unreal. And the sound is also a bit more pure as I said that. So I consider this album as one of the most important albums for thrash metal. This pushed thrash metal big time. Some good songs on it, like "Ride the Lightning," "For Whom the Bell Tolls," "Fade to Black," and "Creeping Death." They were awesome to hear. They're still awesome to hear live. It's loud, it's heavy, and it's in your face. It's one of those albums like "Kill 'Em All." It first was a bit too. Well, it wasn't less. It was a bit too heavy for my liking and a bit too loud, but it just kind of grew on me as time and time went on. Obviously, I don't think this is their debut album. I think their next album was kind of their breakthrough album. Sorry, I should say. Kind of think this album was kind of a what is to come on future records. So yeah. So on to number 4. If I So number 4 is and Justice for All. So this is the fourth studio album by the band. It was released on August 25th, 1988. This was the first album to feature Jason Newston on bass, the first album to have a music video for the song One, the last album to have contributions to Cliff Burton. The album features aggressive, constantly fast tempos and few verse chorus structures with an often criticized dry bass like mix. The lyrical theme of political and legal injustice, project through the prism of censorship, war, and nuclear blinkmanship. I cannot say that. Is all in this album. One of the biggest criticism of the album is the bass performance is almost notable. The songs are lengthier or more complex songs on the previous album. My review on it: I think this is a brilliant album. It's aggressive. It's in your face. It's still in your face and hits you hard. I love the fast tempos, loud sound to it, and I love the techno sound. This is a masterpiece of an album. I love how the lyrics have serious meaning behind them. The only thing I don't like, well, obviously I like the lyrics, and stuff. The only thing I don't like about it is the lyrics, drumming, and guitars are too loud over the bass, which you can't really hear the bass on any of the songs. I like the songs such as they're more lengthier, more complex. I like the songs such as Blackened, Justice for All, Hovers of Sorrow, One, and I Have Behold. All in all, this is a brilliant album. The reason it comes in at number 4, it's the same with Ride the Lightning and Kill Them All. It just took me a while to it was at first I was this is an alright album. But over time I've grown to love it. So on to number 3. So, number 3, Master of Puppets. So this is the third album by the band. This was released on March 3rd, 1986. This was the last album to feature Cliff Burton, who died in a bus accident in Sweden during the album's promotional tour. This is considered one of Metallica's best albums and one of the best albums in metal history. It's got a balance of a more mature and skilled songwriting while maintaining that youthful edge and aggression. It's got some iconic songs on it from start to finish, and this was the first album by the band to be released on the major label, Elektra. So my review on this album comes in number 3 because I absolutely love this album. This is a brilliant album, one of my all-time favourites. I kind of consider this album as Metallica's breakthrough, and obviously it is one of the most important albums in metal history. This album from start to finish is loud, in your face, hits you hard, drags you in with the sound of the heavy guitars, drums, and lyrics, and it's got that kind of Metallica signature sound to it. Obviously the songwriting is more mature and the skill as well, but it still has that, as I said before, that youthful edge and aggression. That's what I like about it. This would be an album I would put on start to finish. It's got unreal songs like Battery as the opener, and then go straight into my favourite song, Master of Puppets, Welcome Home, Sanitarian, and the instrumental, which I'm not really a big fan of instrumentals, is Orion. I prefer Orion over to the Call of Cthulhu, which appeared on Ride the Lightning. I think this one's just one of the best instrumentals ever to put on an album, and it is kind of one of a tribute to Cliff Burton. And I'm kind of going off script here a bit. These songs are still played live today, and they still sound unreal live. I know in the 90s they kind of, if you hear on the Live Shit, Binge and Purge album, they cut the Master of Puppets song down by 4 minutes, and they did that throughout the 90s. But I'm kind of glad to still play that song like live and full now, and a lot of these songs like. But all in all, it's good, good. So number two, Metallica's self-titled album, also known as the Black Album. So the Black Album's the self-titled or self-titled album. This was released on August 12th, 1981, and this is the fifth album released by the band. Obviously, by 1981, Metallica was one of the biggest metal bands in the world. This album kind of crossed all the boundaries and became one of the best-selling albums of all time. It was the first album to hit number one on the Billboard chart and sold 60 million copies in the US alone. And more than 30 million copies were sold worldwide. The recording of this album, yeah, um, the there was trouble during production. The band often had conflicts with their new producer Bob Rock. This album kind of marked a change with their new producer Bob Rock. The album kind of marked a change in the band's kind of sound from thrash metal style, as you hear on their previous albums. While their last album had more complex and lengthy arrangements, this album was more straightforward and streamlined and more kind of heavy metal. This is like my review on this. This is a brilliant album. I nearly did put this at number one until the next album I heard. So this is why it's at number two. Critics will probably say, "Oh, why did they not put it at number? Why is this at number two? It should be lower on the list. Kind of their other albums are better." Well, this is my list. This is the album that introduced me to Metallica. This is an album I will never get tired of. The songs introduced me to Metallica, and I'll never get tired of these songs. Love the songs on it, such as Enter Sandman as the opener, which is just just really unreal. Followed by Sabbath True, The Unforgiven, Wherever May I Roam, and Nothing Else Matters. Like some of the other songs, they're alright. Like Don't Try to Me, For the Never, Offer of a Man. They're alright. The rest of the songs are good, but they wouldn't be just up there with the rest of the album. Obviously, like saying this kind of crossed all boundaries, and that's how I kind of came across it. Ever since then, I've just grown to become a big Metallica fan. So yeah, like as I said, like they're all now songs are more straightforward and more streamlined. But anyway, on to number one. So number one is Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Uh, this is the 10th studio album to be released by the band, and it's their latest to be released. It was released as a double album. I think this is the first for the band. I'm not too sure. This was released on November 18th, 2016. Released on their own label, Black and Recordings. This is the first album that was released after the 8-year gap between albums. The last one being Death Magnetic. And this is the longest in the band's history. I think it's the longest album now to date for the band as well. The band came back with a vengeance, put a fresh spin on thrash roots, and this album went platinum, certifying that the band is still one of the biggest metal bands in the world. My review on this, the reason that this is at number one, I think this is one of Metallica's best ever albums so far, and two, I love this album start to finish. It was worth the 8-year wait. Every song on this album I just love start to finish. It's pure thrash metal, loud, in your face, grabs you by the throat, and just takes you for a wild ride. every song kind of has a meaning behind it. It's got a combination of short songs, long songs, techno guitar solos, and drumming. Um, Obviously, like some songs, like Hardwire's such a beast of a song to open with, and then Spit Out the Bone as their last one, as their end song. There is one of the songs, I think it's oh flip, what do you call it? Uh, I don't remember the name of that song, but it's kind of like um, it's a bit black metal, and other songs like Muffin the and Murder One, which is a tribute to Lemmy, which is awesome. But all in all, this album start to finish is just pure thrash metal. There's none of this like stuff they did with the Black Album, like having a slow down song. It's just fast thrash metal throughout, and obviously some of the songs on it build up as well. Some just go straight in there. Some just kind of build it up, which is awesome. So all in all, Hardwire Self-Destruct, brilliant album, number one on my list, and I'm going to wrap this video up. So guys, hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the instant notification bell in the description below. So yeah, this is a new series. I'm still trying to kind of adapt it, but I hope you did enjoy this first video, even though I was kind of writing it and recording it at the same time. So yeah, I will try and put out as many of these videos as I can over the next couple of weeks. As you know, currently the UK is on lockdown due to this coronavirus, so this is kind of giving me something to do away from like uni work and stuff, and not getting too bored. So yeah, I will try and post as many of these videos up as I can. So yeah, so the next one, I have already started writing the script for it. Better recording, it's Def Leppard albums ranked. So thanks for tuning in to Albums Rank. See you in the next video.